Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Molly White and I am with the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute. We are absolutely delighted to be hosting this informational session on the online graduate certificate in greenhouse gas management at George Washington University. My role today is to be your guide through today's session, and then I will also facilitate the question and answer section at the end of the webinar. So before we dive in here, just a few notes on logistics. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to you in an email following the webinar's closing. And then we'll also post the recording to the George Washington University program website and also to the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute website. The webinar is a short 30 minutes with ample time at the end to answer your questions. So please feel free if you have a question at any time during the presentations, you can post them either in the questions panel or the chat panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and then we'll get to those at the end. And then similarly, if you have any technical difficulties, please feel free to contact myself. You can send a message via chat to the organizer privately. So without further ado, I will pass the baton off to Rachel Jonasson. She is the Certificate Program Director at George Washington University, and she'll be introducing our other panelists today. So Rachel.
Thanks, Molly. Hi, I'm Rachel Jonasson, the Director of Greenhouse Gas Management at the George Washington University. I'll give you information about the administration of the certificate program in Greenhouse Gas Management and how your online learning will work. And then two others related to our program will give more details. Dr. Michael Gillenwater is Dean of the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute and someone I've worked with closely over the past few years as we developed a collaborative offering in greenhouse gas management, the first of its kind in an engineering program. Dr. Gillenwater will tell you more about the courses you will take in the program and how they prepare you for the emerging field of greenhouse gas management. Professor Mark Trexler is our other speaker today. Professor Trexler is one of 4 faculty within the program who will support your learning, and he offers a deep background in greenhouse gas management and associated issues in climate change. Professor Trexler will give you more detail about the course he teaches in the program. It is called Greenhouse Gas Mitigation and is the third of our 4 courses. Let me begin by telling you about our institution. The George Washington University was established by an act of Congress in 1821. It has 10 colleges and schools, including the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, where we are located. GW hosts about 25,000 students, and about 14,000 of those are graduate students. So we are deeply steeped in graduate and professional education. Within the School of Engineering and Applied Science, there are 5 departments, and ours, Engineering Management and Systems Engineering, is one of the largest and oldest in the United States, with over 1,500 students. About 95% of our students are graduate students, and 65% are off-campus students, like you will be in this program. The certificate has been jointly developed and offered by both institutions, the George Washington University and the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute. We've worked closely with GHGMI for several years to design the program and get it approved. The certificate program and the 4 courses that make up the program have been approved by the GW Faculty Senate and the administration. You will find the 4 courses listed in the university catalog. They are 4 graduate-level courses of 3 credit hours each. All courses can be applied to graduate programs at GW, including the online programs that lead to master's degree. Credits can be transferred elsewhere since GW is a fully accredited university. All of these courses were produced in conjunction with the George Washington eDesign Shop, which holds a large professional staff with expertise in cinematography, audio editing, animation, graphics, and the art and science of learning, what we call pedagogy. We also worked closely with the Instructional Technology Lab, which hosts the University Knowledge Hub for online learning and support. Each course has an online librarian working directly with you and the instructor to ensure that you, as a student, have access to all the online knowledge resources of the university. You'll use Blackboard as the learning management system housing all the materials for the course. It has full capabilities for online learning, and I'll illustrate some of those in a minute. As part of your learning experience, you will participate in live, synchronous sessions once per week using the Blackboard system called Collaborate, which offers full two-way audio and video connections so you can see and be seen by others in the class. That tool is available to you for conferences with your professor and to collaborate with fellow students. The faculty have been selected and appointed special to this program in cooperation with GHGMI for the exact expertise and teaching ability required. Besides myself, they include Professor Todd Delaney, Professor Mark Trexler, and Professor Marco Buttazzone. You can learn more about the faculty at our website. All your courses will be available online. The first was offered online this spring, just completed. The second will be online in the fall, taught by Professor Delaney. The third and fourth courses will be available in spring 2018. The first cohort entered the program this spring, and we are now accepting applications for the second cohort to begin in fall. Fees for this online offering are reduced from those for campus courses by about 1/2 and are $995 per credit hour. For admission into the program, these requirements hold. You must have a suitable bachelor's degree, such as engineering, mathematics, or science, or a bachelor's degree with appropriate work experience, which you must document. You must have a B or better average in your junior and senior years and must submit a transcript. You also must submit a statement of purpose indicating your career objectives and how you see the certificate fitting into those plans. Admission decisions are made on a rolling basis, and you will be notified within a few weeks of the admission decision. To allow for the review process, your applications must be submitted no later than the end of July for the fall semester. There are 3 options for taking courses in the program. Most choose to apply for the certificate, but if you're already admitted into a graduate degree program at GW, you can also sign up for classes. And if you want to take one course, perhaps try out the program before applying for the certificate, you can register as a non-degree student and sign up for a single class. On the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about the actual way the courses are offered. Here's the fun stuff. So let me tell you a little bit about the learning experience you'll encounter. And Blackboard is a very rich learning environment, and you'll find a wealth of resources packed into each course. You're seeing around-the-clock look at a few here. We'll start at the upper left-hand side. You'll use and construct wikis to share knowledge with your colleagues. In the center, you see or next to that, you see a typical lecture video. There's me speaking about something obscure like radiative forcing. So video segments give you a chance to learn more about those. They're typically 5 to 7 minutes long. In the center, this video features a few students from an earlier class discussing the problem of bunker fuels and emissions from international shipping and methods to reduce them. On the right-hand side, you'll see you get access to many interviews with experts in each area. Here I'm interviewing Scott Sklar, a world expert on solar energy. Blackboard hosts discussion boards, and we'll have one for each week of the semester, where you are challenged on a particular topic and share ideas with your classmates from all over the world. In the lower right, you'll see something Professor Trexler provides. He'll speak later, but he uses a special tool he's developed called Climate Web, and you'll have full access to that during his class. In the lower center, because GW sits in the midst of the nation's government and international policymakers, you'll have special access to unique expertise. For instance, we collaborate with the World Bank Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition, which is located just a few blocks away. Here in this video, you see 3 experts from the Government Accountability Office speaking about challenges the federal government faces in mitigating greenhouse gas emissions in a video they helped us produce specially for this program. You'll encounter many similar special videos. On the left, you see the actual Blackboard system with its blue navigation panel and an example exercise. This is one of many exercises you can select in one of 5 lessons for 1 week of my course. I provide more exercises than you need do, and you can select the ones that work best for your learning style. If you like to learn by listening to videos, choose one of those. If you learn by reading a text, there's that option. If you learn by doing, try your hand at reading an official memo on a challenging topic. And then finally, in the center, you see one of the ways we check your ongoing learning as the course progresses. Each video contains many stopping points shown by the green boxes at the bottom. They may point to additional resources or may quiz you as shown here. We monitor your progress on these quizzes and work with you to clarify any points of confusion. And you get instant feedback within the video and follow-up from your instructor. Well, I hope that gives you a flavor of the type of instruction in store for you. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Gillenwater, who will tell you more about the content of the courses and how they prepare you for the global demand for experts in this field. Dr. Gillenwater.
Thank you, Rachel, for that very thorough overview of the program. I want to speak a little bit about the origins of this program and why we at the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute felt so kind of passionate and driven to help bring something like this to academia. So one of the things we've seen over a decade of working on these issues, we do an enormous amount of training and education and technical professional capacity building around the world for experts, especially those working at the United Nations level on Kyoto Protocol and now Paris Agreement treaty compliance and reporting. We do the training for those programs for the Climate Change Secretariat, the UN Climate Change Secretariat. And what we found in that process is, one, a severe lack of technical expertise and applied climate policy expertise in these technical areas of carbon management, and 2, unfortunately, a gap within university education where we see some amazing work that's gone into the things like the IPCC technical assessments that are cited everywhere as the evidence for climate change. So amazing amount of work within academia on climate science and climate science education, atmospheric chemistry, and other areas. And then on the other side, we see programs now becoming more common, what we call sustainability focused, corporate management, and just how to green business, but lacking kind of technical applied rigor in the sort of areas of metrics and measurement and mitigation that are going to really drive the implementation of climate change policies and actions. So this gap of sort of still very technical but yet very applied and focusing on actions, again with embedding within an engineering and science context like we've done here at GW University. That there was a gap there. You see very few programs like that. So we began talking to GW several years ago and decided that this was an ideal place, given their systems engineering focus, to develop a program like this. And especially one of the key things for us was to be able to use the high level of pedagogy that Rachel mentioned and put it online so that it was globally accessible, because this is not just a problem for those in Washington, D.C. This is an issue where all of us globally that are focused on doing something about climate change need to be able to access the learning and knowledge to become professionals in this space. Next slide. So let me talk for a second about the content of the program. You've got a little bit of a taste through Rachel's introduction, but really what we cover in 2 years, 4 courses, is, of course, giving you the climate policy context and the scientific background for those that have less time and experience in climate change. So you get all of that necessary background, and the online environment allows you to go as deep and broad as you want to make sure that you feel completely comfortable in those areas. And then in addition to that, of course, the real heart of the program is the technical fundamentals on GHG accounting, on all sorts of methods for estimating and analyzing emissions and understanding and quantifying emission reductions. So that's really, the meat that you don't find in other graduate programs anywhere. And we give a particular focus to energy efficiency, renewable energy mitigation. So how do we either go into companies or running government programs, quantify those sorts of impacts, plan those policies, and track them over time, engage in carbon markets, all the really nuts and bolts that whether you're in business, again, or government, those sorts of applied skills sort of take you from talking vaguely about policies to the actual implementation and management of real policies and actions. And then we even go a step further, which is focusing on, okay, you doing all this greenhouse gas accounting. Really, what you need for kind of long-term implementation is the ability to manage that data, use that data to again track and report emissions, and then also make continuous improvements, engage in carbon markets, and you really need sophisticated data systems to do that over the long term when things start to get more complex. So we have a specific course focusing on these data system issues and into the verification and quality assurance around all this emissions data and other associated data around mitigation, so that there's assurance around the impacts that are being made. And again, that's going to be the foundation of policies and emission markets going forward. So one of the key things we bring from GHGMI is we sponsor and edit the Carbon Management Journal. It's a international peer-reviewed scholarly journal focusing specifically on these issues. And one of the things we will be encouraging those of you that take the program to do is using some of the more advanced projects and papers that you work on, helping take those and submit those for publication in carbon management. So here is a list of the 4 courses offered under the program. Of course, as I mentioned, the introduction course that Rachel teaches on climate change policy that gives you the full background, and it's not just superficial. It's a deep technical background on all aspects of climate change to really prepare you for the coming 3 courses. Next course on measurement and reporting that goes through all the background on carbon accounting and reporting and all the various protocols out there, and gives you a really applied, practical sense of how to use those with real exercises and assignments. Next is Mark's course, who will be speaking next, and he'll go over that in detail. But basically taking that emissions data, and then what do we do with it? How do we actually turn that into mitigation, into emission reductions? How do we take that data, analyze it, and then make smart strategic decisions, policy choices, and implement those choices, including the use of markets, emission markets. And then lastly, as I mentioned, the focus on quality assurance and data systems, really the nuts and bolts of how do you do this stuff. So as you'll see, I mean, this combination of courses is a package that's really focused not just on stepping back in the academic theory of climate change and climate change policy and environmental economics, but really about providing real skills and competencies on how to become a professional in this space. So, and as Rachel mentioned, you're receiving university course credit for all of these courses, and additionally, they can be transferred into a master's or doctoral program, with an application, should you decide to go forward for, again, a full graduate degree, such as a master's degree within the engineering and systems department at GW. And with that, let me transfer over the microphone to Professor Trexler, who will speak on EMSE 6292 on greenhouse gas mitigation.
Thanks, Michael. And let me step back for just a second and put into context what's going on these days and why this certificate program and the issues that we're talking about are so interesting and so key. I mean, right now, as you probably know, we have the Paris Agreement from 2015, but we're in the process of radically moving away from 10,000 years of climate stability and potentially getting into all sorts of tipping points relating to the climate system. And why is that relevant? Next slide. It's relevant because the emissions that we're talking about, if we actually do end up trying to do something about climate change in terms of serious efforts, the reductions that we're talking about to meet, for example, the 2-degree target, and right now we're not on track to meet the 2-degree target, we're closer to sort of the 4 to 5-degree target. But let's assume for a second that at some point there is serious policy and the decision is made to try and get to 2 degrees or to limit to 2.5 degrees or something along those lines. This graphic shows you what that suggests, and it means going to 0 in terms of global emissions by 2050 and going significantly negative in terms of carbon capture and storage and sequestration and other things between 2050 and 2100. Now, the trick here is that somebody has to make these reductions, and these reductions, generally speaking, are made at the level of business. And reductions like these have never happened before. I mean, there is no precedent for anything like what is shown in this slide. And so the question becomes, well, how exactly does this happen? What does it mean for business, and how does business respond? And this is important for policymakers as well, because we tend to think of business often as sort of just an extension of society. And business really isn't just an extension of society. It has its own motivations, its own interests that impact business decision making. Next slide. And so there are lots of potential policies and measures when it comes to what is it that will be in play to push greenhouse gas mitigation and to either force or incentivize mitigation across business sectors. And those policies and measures are very wide-ranging, from the possibility of absolute emissions caps, technology mandates such as we see today with renewable portfolio standards, cap and trade, project-based carbon markets, carbon taxes, various kinds of carbon pricing, efficiency standards, tax incentives. There are lots of potential policies and measures that could be in play. Some of them are in play, but will be much more actively in play in coming years. Lots of different things, each of which have a different set of impacts on the business community and specifically different impacts for different sectors. Next slide. And Molly, I just seem to have lost the slides. Have other people lost slides? Next slide is following shortly. Okay, so all of those different policy decisions affect different kinds of corporate decisions. And obviously these don't apply to every single business. Different businesses will be affected very differently, making very different decisions and having very different perceptions on a lot of these different things. But we're talking about, how will new technology investment decisions be made in terms of timing and form. Acting too early can be the same as acting too late in some cases in terms of corporate mitigation. The siting of new plants and projects, where to do it, when to do it, whether to merge and divest, and what the climate risks might be associated with different merger and divestment strategies. Energy procurement strategies, whether, how, and how much to engage in carbon markets, how to factor all of these different policies and variables into business planning and market forecasts, and of course, new product development and deployment. Lots of different corporate decisions that are on the line when it comes to the variety of policies and measures that may come in to try and push greenhouse gas mitigation. And next slide. That brings us to the specifics of 6292 in terms of the third course in the certificate series. And the key context here is that there's lots of stuff going on in the business community around climate change, and I've been working with the business community on climate change for more than 25 years. So there's a lot going on, but that said, companies have barely begun to understand climate change and climate risks and potential climate change implications, number one, and they've barely begun to understand what the kind of emissions reduction and policy mandates I showed in the earlier slide would actually mean for them. Very little understanding of that. So what this course is doing is helping position you to advise those companies and to understand, if you're in the policy community, how companies are likely to react to different policies. And so it gives you the tools to understand the business relevance of different policies and measures, including carbon markets and carbon pricing, to think through how a specific company and specific sector will be affected, advise management on how to adapt to the changing policy environment, how to engage in scenario planning that helps the company prepare for these issues. And again, as I said, if you're not in a corporate setting, it's still very helpful to understand how business is likely to think about these issues. And because we tend to sort of assume, well, we pass a policy and that's that, things happen, everything's taken care of. And as we've seen over and over and over again, it's not that simple. And so understanding how business is likely to come at some of these different policies is actually a critically useful perspective for people, even if you're not in business. Next slide. And so in the course, using some of the tools that Rachel introduced earlier, this particular course is sort of split into two parts. One explores the technical workings of key policies and measures like pricing and carbon markets, and the second explores how business tends to think about and respond to such policies and measures. And to encourage that, each student in the class will, during the course of the entire semester, will play the role of a different business sector in terms of the different assignments and different discussions, and share that with all the other students so that we'll really gain a perspective on how different sectors are likely to be playing in this, and how these things will affect different sectors, and how the internal planning for companies in those sectors will differ. One of the things that I do in my courses is to use some particular knowledge management tools. One is called the Brain software, and one is called Debate Graph. Both are very interesting knowledge management softwares that actually have potentially huge implications beyond this particular course, and I think you'll find them very useful in that respect, and you might want to adopt them for other purposes. And one that Rachel already mentioned, the Climate Web, which is a massive knowledge management system for anything relating to climate change and climate risk, and you'll have access to that, and you'll have ongoing access to it after the class. So that gives you a very quick perspective into what we're trying to do with the third course in the certificate series with 6292, and I and the rest of the presenters are happy to take any questions you might have.
Great. Thank you, Michael, and Rachel. That was a terrific overview of the program. And yeah, we have a number of questions that have come in while you all were speaking. So let's see. To get us started on questions, I think, Rachel, we'll start with you. We had one question related to whether a student can start with any course, or do they need to take the courses sequentially?
Thanks, Molly. That's a very, very good question. In fact, we would like to see you take the second course, C2, we call it, appropriately, before you were to take the third and fourth courses, because we think that course gives you background that you should have in it. Otherwise, there's a lot of freedom. So you would have the opportunity to take that second course this coming fall, if you apply and get admitted into the program by the end of summer, and then we'd be able to take the third and fourth courses in the coming spring. Other than that, there are no mandatory sequencing of the courses, and that is a recommendation on our part that we may be able to waive depending on the kind of background that you bring into it and what your particular exigencies are.
Okay, thanks. Another one for you is a question regarding any scholarship opportunities or financial aid opportunities that are associated with this program that students could apply for.
Yeah, thanks. And there are always lots of interest in the financial aid and those sorts of things. There's not a specific line of financial aid set up for this particular program. And any financial aid decisions made at the George Washington University are always after you're admitted into a program. So the steps to make are actually get admitted into the program, and then you can speak to the financial aid people to see what kinds of support might be available in your particular case.
Okay. And on that front, I know you mentioned the course fees, but could you, just for everybody's benefit, mention them once more, what the course credits cost?
Sure. Each course, 3-credit hour course, is $995 per credit hour. So that's just a little shy of $3,000 per class, per course.
Okay, great.
Excuse
me. Let's see, moving. Michael, this one's directed at you. Does the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute provide any research assistance or have data for graduate research related to climate change? I think this was in context to that journal submission slide that you had.
Yes. Well, I mean, we would be happy. I mean, it's our mission as a nonprofit organization to work and help professionals develop themselves in this area. So the first line would be to work with your faculty members in the course, in the relevant course that you're doing a project on. Would be kind of the first stop. But both as a GHGMI and through the editorial process on the journal, we'd be happy to work with you in terms of publication. In terms of data, it's hard to answer that generically in terms of what kind of data and for what purpose. But I think maybe more useful would be speaking with your course professor. And I'm also happy to work with anyone to help define a research project and locate data and identifying a methodology for working on that. So I think that and possibly doing something that would be more broadly beneficial in terms of the work we do at GHGMI or to the international community.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can add to that, maybe, Molly. Within George Washington University, you would be admitted into this graduate certificate program, which has the opportunity offers the opportunity, as Michael explained, to actually move from there into a master's degree program, which would give you plenty of opportunity to perform graduate level research on climate change related issues, as many of the graduates within our program are already doing today. So that's a further opportunity to really get deeply into the research side of things.
Right.
Great point.
Okay, going a little bit more broad, we had a question, Mark, for you. Came up with your course. Does your course qualify students for a job opportunity or a business opportunity in sustainable green growth?
Well, I'm always trying to figure out what sustainable green growth means, and so that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, the course is focused on strategies around climate risk and climate opportunity, for that matter. And so, to the extent that someone in a renewable energy firm or whatever needs to understand those issues, absolutely. So it's not limiting in any particular sense, and it covers a lot of issues that are going to be critical to whatever green growth strategy we end up going down.
Okay. And adding to that, maybe from the general GW side, George Washington University has a whole range of courses at the undergraduate and graduate level on sustainability, so we can direct you to those resources also.
Great. Rachel, coming back to you, I'm gonna combine two questions here, and it relates to the courses being taken individually, or do students have to commit to the certificate at the outset of applying or enrolling?
Yeah, great question. And we recognize that there's a considerable expense involved in this, and a commitment of your time to a graduate certificate program like this. And so we do have this non-degree option where a student can apply to be a non-degree student, and through that means, once admitted into the non-degree program, would be allowed to sign up for one of the certificate programs or certificate courses, and through that can get a notion of how this is run and whether it's right for them and so on. And then that course can be applied to the certificate program if they decide to apply for the whole certificate and get admitted to that. And as I say, that can build into actually a graduate degree program that they could transfer all those credits into a master's program, or even conceivably a PhD program.
Okay. And on that, kind of on that same track, we have a question that relates to, can a group of individuals take a course together? And maybe this query is more related to, say, a company that has a team of specialists that are interested in a single course, or is this set up like a traditional university course where you apply as an individual, not as a group? I think.
Yeah, good question. And we actually have a lot of experience within our own department with that sort of a setup. So we have, with other programs within our department, set up where it's geared to a particular company, and the courses can actually even be offered on site or remotely, but dedicated to that the employees of a specific company. The entire for these other programs, they've been set up so that a whole graduate degree program can be run as a service to employees of that specific company. And so we found a very large demand for that kind of support. And yes, it is available, and we can design things like that specifically for companies, and whether they be individual courses or the whole suite of courses.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to direct this one to Michael. So, Michael, this question is from an attendee curious about how this program differs from some of the self-paced coursework that is available at GHG Management Institute. Could you perhaps?
Yeah, sure. I'll be somewhat honest. I mean, there is a fair amount of overlap. Obviously, we work with GW and you know, some of the curriculum that's going into you know, especially the greenhouse gas accounting courses, not surprisingly. You know, a pull from, you know, our decade of experience of doing deep technical education on this topic. You know, the key difference here is obviously, you know, being in the, you know, full university environment, although virtually because it's an online course, but still nonetheless being in that university environment. So it has a, you know, little bit more of a, you know, academic feel, and, you know, most importantly, you know, there's, you know, this is university credit, so you're getting university credit, you know, at a major academic institution, which you know, Greenhouse Gas Management Institute, I like to think and hope everyone else thinks, you know, we're a very credible institution and offer amazing, you know, educational opportunities, but we're not a you know, a full, you know, university with hundreds of years of history behind us. So and you know, the opportunity to transfer into a master's degree program, I think is you know, fairly, in terms of the content of this certificate, fairly unique.
Great. Rachel, did you have any follow-up?
Yeah, and I'll add to
Yeah.
what Michael's saying on that, because I think he makes very good points about it. Something that I know attracted Michael as we began to discuss this and negotiate the whole thing some years ago, and that is what I emphasized early on, that sort of emphasis on pedagogy, really designing these courses with the knowledge that we have of how students learn, the long experience we have in those areas, being able to develop something that's a very interactive course, very live for the students with the you know, synchronous sessions and things like that, and the level of capability we offer within the university in terms of setting up e-learning systems and all of the support we get from the e-design shop in those areas, I think provides something that we think is going to take all of us who are working to develop these and offer these types of training to a new level. And we look forward to working with GHGMI and Michael to do this more in future.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you for all those of you who asked these questions. They're great questions. I also want to thank our panelists today. Thanks for carving out time in your schedules to speak about this program. It was very informational. And I just want to note, I said this at the beginning, but for those in attendance, you will be receiving the webinar recording, and then we will also post the recording to both the George Washington University website and then the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute website. And I had a request for slides too. I think what we'll do is we'll also email out the slides. I don't see any reason why not to. And then in the event I missed your question, or if other questions come up as you're navigating your decision to apply, please do not hesitate to email Rachel. You'll see her direct email address here on the slide. I know she, along with Mark or Michael, would be more than happy to help you navigate the application process and understand any considerations that you might be thinking through. So with that, I will close the webinar today. I hope everybody has a good week, and we look forward to your enrollment. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Very excellent webinar. Thanks for organizing this.